So with MMPR mishmashing 3 Sentai seasons, it made the entire storyline of Kakuranger unusable. So what was their story about? Who were the Rangers? Where did Ninja Man fit in all this? I've noticed that Kakuranger kind of gets jumped over because of how nothing the Alien Rangers are, so people tend to forget it's a season. After Ranger concluded, Sentai went with ninjas as their next theme. They did this on purpose. Ranger was all about Chinese themes, so they wanted to have a juxtaposition to that. Both seasons follow each other's framing, that's why they feel very similar. The monsters can change back and forth to humans, reveal of the main leader happens in the middle of the show, and there's some big revelations to the team. One improvement I have to mention, the entire cast was developed well, but I will knock off points for the plots. Kakuranger rushed setting up episodes where they have a character that just met the Kakurangers and has them trust them instantly or fall in love within like 5 minutes. I don't think Kakuranger being similar to Ranger harms it. There's enough meat and personality that keeps them apart. There's one interesting bit of trivia from this season. Remember the wedding 3-parter? This was the only time Power Rangers used footage from Super Sentai that was still airing in Japan by just 9 days. The MMPR movie was being filmed during these episodes, so Kakuranger got licensed by Saban probably around the start of Season 2's airing, so they used shots of Junior's yokai hideout for the exterior of the mansion. That's how far back Season 3 was being planned. Let's look at the bad guys first. The Yokai Army Corps were sealed away by the ancestors of the Kakurangers. Any that avoided capture roamed Earth as humans waiting for the day that the seal was broken. Kakurangers monsters are based off the folk tales of the yokai spirits and gods. Most follow their stories and looks, like Oboro Gruma. He was a yokai based on an oxen cart turned into a taxi cab for the show. I would say these monsters are the most changed in any of the PR seasons. The theme is virtually ignored with one exception, naming the Tengu Warriors, and they're pretty randomly used in Season 3. They didn't care if a monster was a general, a minion, or used in a late Kakuranger story. Just get an episode done. So much so, the first Ninja Megazord fight we see with Rito was actually the final fight Gasha Dokuro had with the Kakurangers. That's why his death was really drawn out. Another thing Season 3 started was the trend of making serious villains in Sentai stupid in PR. Rito's counterpart is a cold-blooded killer and an intelligent fighter, which is why when he fights in the Zord footage, he's much more harder to deal with than how he acts with Zed. This gets repeated with Elgar and Gluto. Another weird thing about Season 3, there's 2 monsters that did get used in PR, but not during Season 3. In Zeo and in Space, along with 2 other monsters, one being released as a toy only, and one ending up on VR Troopers. For the Kakurangers side, they didn't know they were descendants of these great warriors, with Tsuruhime being the exception. It's why she's the leader. Going into Kakuranger for the first time, I was wondering how it was going to play out. Sentai has an untold rule where one season will be serious, followed by one that will be more goofy or strange. For example, Go-Onger is very lighthearted and funny. Shinkenger is very deep and creepy. Kakuranger falls in the middle of the 2 sides. It's more goofier than Ranger, that's for sure, when it has a living van called Nekomaru and does the 60s Batman sound effects, but it does keep those personal dramatic fights in the show. And Kakuranger put in some good world building. There are times where the Rangers save the world, but you never understand what they do on their days off. Like, how did the Jew Rangers get food? Did Barza own the building? They don't explain that. So I like it when they work this into the background of the characters. Like I said, the only person who knew about the yokai was Tsuruhime. She came from a very rich background raised by her father, and when he died, Sandayu, a very strange ninja master, took over. She focused so much on preparing for the yokai. Tsuruhime left her home, her life. She's very much like Shinken Red, bearing that responsibility of protecting Earth. Doesn't like opening up to anyone, so we don't really find out much about her for a while, but she does have a complicated story. Sandayu gave Tsuruhime Nekomaru. It's a magical van that could fly and teleport and acts as their mobile base. At the same time, is a food stand where they make money. I liked this dynamic. It forced Tsuruhime to be with the other Rangers as she found them, causing a balancing act. The guys became friends, loosening her obsession and closed-offness. At the same time, Tsuruhime helped iron out the problems of the other Rangers. Half of them weren't fighters. Most of them didn't even know what was going on. Sasuke and Saizo were the ones that opened up the sealed door because they got tricked. They were the greenest of greenhorns in becoming Kakurangers. I really like this cast's dynamic. Sasuke, you would never expect to be a Ranger. Ranger, but he got better at fighting, trained and worked hard. What was neat is how Sasuke and Tsuruhime work together. Normally Red Rangers are the leader. I thought there would be an issue with trying to balance who got screen time. With the Alien Rangers, they didn't have that problem because Oriko wasn't a character. But you don't even think about this change. It's because of how well they work together. Sasuke never steps on Tsuruhime, and she doesn't shoot down Sasuke. That's the best part of Sasuke. He's really good at judging, so he knows when to leave and come into a situation. That's why he's my favorite of the Kakurangers. Saizo, he falls into the same trap other Blue Rangers do. He's a bit whiny, gets lazy, tries too hard to get things done, and wants the easy answer to everything. Starts off like a big kid, but it did make him funny, and a good foil to team off with Sekai. You need someone like Saizo on this team. Everyone would be too serious. But at heart, he cares about his friends and the city, so while he's the one to blame for the release of the yokai, he makes up for it. Sekai, he's dumb as Zane, constantly fixated on girls, will do virtually anything for a pretty face. You can guess why Saizo and Sekai get along with each other, but this stupidness does work in their favor. They screw up a lot, but this stubbornness of trying to fix their mess got them out of some bad situations. He also shares the same problem with Tsuruhime. He doesn't like opening himself up on how he feels. He'd rather avoid it and drive the van than talk about his issues. I would consider him the weakest developed of the team, but still got strong enough episodes. Which leaves us with the mysterious Jiraiya. His family moved to America, so he started off not knowing much Japanese. The odd one out. His background was unknown for a while, but when we finally get to see how he's related to the yokai storyline, it hits you. I found his random English fun. There's a few times where he says, "Oh my god," and I'm like, is this where Shurikanger got the line from? It takes a while to get to know him, but most people will probably consider him the best character. As for Ninja Man, I was always wondering why they didn't just have Tommy use his suit and be the Sixth Ranger that way. Seeing the show, it wouldn't have worked and it would have destroyed the Tommy character. But what's funny is that while Ninjor was goofy in MMPR, Ninja Man was played different. He's two sides of a coin. He's there to help out, almost like a professor with students, but then he pulls a Marty McFly and goes Samurai Man when someone insults him. He's a loose cannon. They don't do this type of character much. It kind of sucks that Ninja Man isn't counted as the Sixth Ranger. I always saw him that way. I do prefer Ninja Man over Ninjor. Ninjor just felt like a plot device. You could see the writers had to use him due to the footage, so they made him quirky, and that's really it. He's in and out when they need him. He works much more better in Kakuranger. Ninja Man comes in pretty late, so if you've watched MMPR first, you get thrown off by that. Okay, that leaves me with all the attacks and finishers. After Die Ranger's insane amount, Kakurangers should be easy. Son of a... Sasuke has the most amount of abilities and attacks featured on the show, including his use of Muteki Shogun's sword. Probably the most powerful move is his ability to transform into objects as a disguise. Many of Sasuke's abilities will be repeated again in Hurricaneger, especially Shadow Dance Kage no Mai. For Ninja White, they got lazy with her abilities. Almost all of her attacks are just variations on cranes. They should have had abilities like using White Kark. Say she could use Kark at normal size, acting like armor. It'd be a nice reference with her being the princess and the Shogun protecting her. Ninja Yellow got a couple of cool moves like his triple slash and his giant illusion. His giant skill gets echoed with Wendy New and Kabuto Ranger on Hurricaneger. Ninja Blue has the most useful abilities and the most dumbest one. Walking on water, I'd like that power. But then he has the ability to imitate you, but not like an illusion. It's him wearing a stupid mask. I don't get it. His running on water power will be seen again with Nanami on Hurricaneger. Ninja Black has the most powerful moves, physical and element-based attacks from his sword, the lightning drop, and rock crusher move. We'll see Jiraiya's earth hiding ability again by Kota on Hurricaneger. Ninja Man doesn't really have much when it comes to abilities, just his fire attack that he doesn't use much, his size change when he's needed during giant fights, and his anger that triggers Samurai Man mode. Now that I think about it, Shurikanger's fire mode was an homage to Samurai Man. Finally, finishers for the Hikari Maru and Kakuranger Ball, Kakure Ryu, Raime Kiri, and Super Kakure Shoot. Okay, done with the characters, time for the mechs and vehicles. The Shark machines have a finisher called the Shark Driver, where the sidecars act as a launching ramp for Red. For the Beast Generals, they got a couple of finishers. The Shinku Hurricane, Vacuum Hurricane, when they stand up on their shoulders attacking as they spin towards a monster, and the Kakure Ryo Ogi Big Bang, causing a massive explosion on the monster. Muteki Shogun has 3 attacks. His primary, the Kaien Shogun Nami, Blazing Shogun Wave from his sword, the Shogun Flower Spray mimicking Ninja White's flower ability, and its combo with Tsubasa Tsubasa Muteki Cannon's full discharge. And lastly, Kakure Daishogun, his God Hammer Punch and God Burst Chop, the only attacks MMPR bothered to name, and Tekken Flying Finish when it's combined with Tsubasa. This ends MMPR. Out of the 3 seasons its footage was from, Dairanger was the best of the bunch, followed by Kakuranger. I think it's a solid season with just issues of rushing too much into the plot. The only other complaint I can think of, it didn't have the Rangers dress up in their colors much, so you can get Saizo and Sekai mixed up since they both wear blue a lot. Season 3 really gave a bad service to Kakuranger. If they had did everything more evenly, where the Rangers got the suits or had the Alien Rangers come in more earlier, like around midpoint, they could have salvaged it. I do suggest give this one a check by watching Kakuranger. You'll understand how the story played out and appreciate the elements that got lost in its adaptation. If you have a suggestion or topic you'd like me to cover, leave a comment down below and I might use it next time. Now on to Power Rangers Zeo.